Hey friend, do you have a dream and a passion to mix sound for TV and film? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about how you can prepare for a career as a re-recording mixer in Hollywood. By the end of this video, you will be equipped with 6 different things that you can focus on to fast track your career as a sound re-recording mixer in Hollywood. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of Mastering Post-Production Sound. My name is Joel D. Catalan. I am a sound re-recording mixer and supervising sound editor. I've been part of this awesome industry we call post-sound for the past 16 years, and I'm here to empower you to navigate, believe, and thrive in the post-production sound industry. Friend, before we start this video off, I just need to take a moment to say thank you because Mastering Post-Production Sound just hit a milestone. We just hit the 1,300 subscriber count. So a major, huge thank you to each and every one of you. We celebrate both the big and small wins, and that is a huge win for us here at Mastering Post-Production Sound. So thank you very much for taking the time to click on these videos. I hope you have found them encouraging and enlightening. Thank you, friend, from the bottom of my heart. Your support means the world. So, woo! 1,300 subscribers. Thank you very much. So let's dive into this topic. We're talking careers. We're talking a career as a sound re-recording mixer. First of all, let's just talk, what is a sound re-recording mixer? So in a nutshell, a sound re-recording mixer is responsible for taking all the clips of audio, whether that's dialogue, music, ADR, loop group, sound effects, background effects, Foley tracks. We take all of those and we balance those up against each other, and we create the soundtrack that you hear either in the movie theater or on TV when you're streaming your favorite TV show. We generally sit at a mixing console like the one behind me. It's an Avid S6 in a room just like this, and we get it fine-tuned, and our filmmakers sit behind us, kind of where this camera is right now, and tell us, hey, I can't hear the dialogue, or can we raise the music? Let's try a different different take of the actor's performance. We balance it, and then we deliver it. So that is a re-recording mixer. It's called a re-recording mixer because we are re-recording existing audio. So, for instance, you have production audio, which is shot on the main set, right, with boom op and a production mixer. So that's already recorded once. That's the production audio. You have other elements like score, which is taking maybe a live orchestra, recording, 60, 70 piece orchestra to stems, and those are delivered. So we're taking these already pre-recorded material and re-recording it into a master soundtrack, okay? Master 5.1, Master Atmos track. You're going to listen to it, either in stereo on your iPhone, iPad, or your TV, or if you're one of the few lucky, people out there who have a 5.1 system at home, you get to enjoy it there. So we are re-recording the audio. So if you want to have a career as a re-recording mixer, there are a few steps that you have to take and a few things that you definitely have to master. So the very first thing you need to master in order to be on your way to a career as a re-recording mixer is you have to master the technical skills, okay? And the technical skills are several things. First of all, you need to really master a DAW. And in this industry, the main DAW we use is Pro Tools. Now, I got into some hot water with some of you on there when we were talking about DAWs, like the best DAWs and the best plugins and things like that. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link below. It'll pop up here. But in the industry of post-production sound, friend, the industry standard is Pro Tools. That is not to be confused with the statement that you can't do post-sound in any other DAW. No, of course you can. You can use things like Nuendo, Adobe Premiere has some stuff. Recently I've been dabbling with DaVinci Resolve for some picture editing stuff, and it has the Fairlight audio in there. You can use any kind of DAW, really, right, to practice on. But to mix at the highest level, to mix on a stage in Hollywood or in New York, friend, the standard is Pro Tools. So you must familiarize yourself with that DAW, okay? Now, to get just the principles, or just the workflow of a DAW, you can start with what you have. But I would highly recommend learning Pro Tools and really getting really comfortable with the shortcuts, okay? Especially, your keyboard shortcuts and how to operate, Pro Tools. Now, when we talk about technical skills and mastering technical skills, we have to also understand that part of that is understanding mixing dialogue, mixing sound effects, what goes into that for both either TV or film. They're essentially the same. There's some nuances, of course, in workflow, but you must spend the time really understanding some of the basics. So all of us who mix sound for TV and film, we have spent years practicing. We have spent years learning. One of the biggest core principles I think you definitely need to have is the principle of curiosity. I talk about curiosity a lot. Curiosity leads to growth. Staying curious is that thing that will allow you to kind of go down the rabbit hole with Pro Tools and learn and try to figure things out. Friend, I believe everything is figure-outable, especially these days, right? Hop onto YouTube and you can learn most anything. So friend, mastering the technical skills is very important. Understanding the basics of sound editing. Most of us who have made the destination to become, or taken the journey to become a sound re-recording mixer, have spent at some point in our career some time editing. Okay, when I first started, I spent any free time I could do working on short films, working on anything I can get, low, no pay kind of gigs to basically cut my teeth. I had to learn. I had to do some things that didn't sound good. If for those who don't know, I did not get my degree in audio recording or post-production audio. I was a musician. I got my degree in music, and it was because I started scoring and didn't want to pay somebody to mix my scores. I learned Pro Tools, okay? So, but that curiosity is what kept me going. I remember getting my first copy of Pro Tools, and my wife, she gifted me, I don't know if it was a birthday or Christmas, she got me an M-Box, right? It was my first M-Box, an M-Box 2, and I just spent hours. So I mastered the foundations of editing, of mixing. I made a lot of mistakes. Some of my early on projects, some of those projects in the very beginning were terrible. They were so bad. I remember going back at one point and listening to something that I was like panning the dialogue, like to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. It was like Wimbledon, book, right? It was terrible. Which, by the way, if you're watching this, don't do that. And you're starting to mix, like, don't pan your dialogue left and right. Like, keep it centered, right? Keep it in the middle. Every once in a while, we will throw something, if the story tells us over there. But you want to keep your listener engaged. So definitely master the skills. Understand what the tools do in Pro Tools, in your DAW, whatever DAW you have, if you're just learning, right, and you're trying to save enough to get Pro Tools. But understanding also complex workflows. Like, for instance, as a re-recording mixer, I'm fortunate now in my career that I don't have to do a lot of editing because I have a team that does that for me. But if you understand that when a picture is locked. Like picture editor says, all right, this is our final cut. They're going to be then exporting a AAF for you and a QuickTime so that you have a picture and then a lock of the rough elements that they've had, their dialogue, their temp sound effects, their temp music. Now you're going to be able to then, if you're doing this solo, you'll take that and you'll start building your backgrounds, cutting your sound effects, going through and building your dialogue, and then spotting for ADR. Maybe you need to re-record some lines. So understanding that there's a workflow to that. And then once all that work is done, then it's delivered and somebody else is doing the music and then that music gets delivered. And then you take all those elements finally to the final part of the mixing. You have the prepped dialogue, you have the prepped ADR. If you've shot loop group for it, you have it. You have the cut sound effects, the cut backgrounds, the cut Foley, and now you're going to go through and start pre-dubbing this and start working your way, from the start of your project to the end. And you're going to balance it and get it there and understand there's going to be a process. Your director, filmmaker, producers, whoever's in charge is going to give you notes. You're going to watch it. You're going to collaborate. You're going to, feed off of each other. That's the process, right? That's the process. And then you're going to print it and you're going to deliver it, right? So understanding that there is a process to that. The more reps you get, the better. The more questions you ask, the more you know and the more experience you have. So familiarize yourself with the workflow because it can be complex. Understand the principles of mixing. Mixing is very subjective, okay? There's not a right or wrong way to do it. There are some people that are really great at it, and there's some people who, maybe struggle but are really good personality-wise and they get the job done. There's all kind of levels. But understanding that ultimately in the end, if it sounds good to our filmmakers, then we've done our job. So mastering the technical skills. Now that can take a long time or you can get it relatively, easier than others, depending on how much you're willing to put in. How much effort are you willing to stay curious, to learn, and learn. The second thing to focus on is gaining experience with smaller projects. Friend, get those reps in, okay? If you want to mix at the highest level, then I recommend start by working on smaller projects. Work on indie films. Work on your friend's short film. If you went to an audio school, go back and make friends with some of those filmmakers, the people who are making their senior films, and ask and plead. Let them know, I will do your short film for you. Get whatever you can. These smaller gigs, what they do is they provide you with invaluable hands-on experience. It is, this is your almost like your graduate school, okay? So it's your next level of learning. You need to gain that experience. And the only way we get better is we do more of it. My good friend and colleague and mixing partner, Jeffrey J. Haboosh, if you missed the video, I'll link it below. We talked about when we had our in-person masterclass recently on mixing, he talked about how when he first started, he made a big mistake, one of his first movies, and one of his mentors and colleagues was telling him, how do you mix? He asked him, how do you get better at mixing films? He's like, well, you mix a lot of them. You got to get your reps in, friends. So if you don't have much of experience, get the experience. Understand you're going to suck at first. Like you just are. That's just the way it goes, right? You're going to suck. So get your reps in. Get your reps in. I remember for myself, it was Craigslist, Mandy.com at the time, and I was just working on whatever I could. And I did things that really sucked. They were terrible, but I got experience, and some things that were nightmares. And I learned how to deal with difficult clients in difficult situations. So gaining experience with the smaller projects is something that should be expected. If you're on this journey and you want to become a re-recording mixer at the highest level and you haven't done that, then friend, go do it. Like get out there and start mixing people's stuff. Okay. So that's the second thing. The third thing, networking, okay? Relentlessly network, okay? That is, I cannot stress that enough. Hollywood is all about connections. It's about who you know, but even more importantly, who knows you. Friend, awareness. Do people know you exist when it comes to your dreams and your goals, right? Do they know you want to do this? A major part of my career is largely due because of my relationships with people. As I was working my way up, I started driving a truck in Hollywood, picking up film, worked my way up to become a mix tech at a sound facility. I showed up on time. I took responsibility. I went, the extra mile. I built trust with the mixers that I was supporting. I created these relationships. They introduced me to people and then other people. It's like having a good attitude goes a long way. So understand that networking and relationships are huge. So get out there, meet people. Okay. Now, there might be events that are put on by the sound community. Some of them might be closed off just to members, but every once in a while, there might be something that the Cinema Audio Society or the Motion Picture Sound Editors, MPSC, does, that's open to the public, or there's, other nonprofits out there. Look for those events. Go to as many of these networking events as you can and build relationships. Let people know, hey man, I got a goal and I want to do this, or this is what I'm doing. Here's my number. Here's my email. Can I take you out to lunch? Can I, buy you a drink or a coffee, something, whatever it is. Understand that Hollywood, it runs on relationships. So I know that there are a lot of people out there who are not that outgoing, might be a little bit more introverted, and that's okay. Like, that's totally fine. There's a place for you too, my introverted friends. If you did not pick up, I am definitely an extrovert, right? I get energy from networking. Networking is like my favorite thing to do. But for those of you who are a little bit, more timid, be easy on yourself. You still need to go out and network. But when you go out and network, come up with a plan. Maybe it's just meet 3 different people tonight. And that's it. Be gentle with yourself. Exchange a number. And then give yourself permission to bail early. Because I know, I'm married to an introvert. And I've learned how to coach introverts. You need that time to recharge. And a room filled with people asking you questions, you want nothing to do with it. You want the spotlight off you. And I get it. So give yourself a break and give yourself permission to leave early from some of these events, and then go home and recharge. Do what you need to do, whether that's taking a bath or reading a good book or taking time to meditate and ground yourself. But make it a small goal to meet, even if it's just one person that night, meet one person, but go out there and network. So for my introverted friends who might find relentlessly networking a little bit difficult, I hope you can take that approach to it, to be gentle with yourself, set a small goal, and take time to recharge, because it's super important. Okay, number 4, the fourth thing is understand industry standards. Now, we have workflows on these stages. We have formats that we have to deliver. There are collaborative processes that happen at this highest level. Like, for instance, I don't know if you knew this, but after we mix a TV show, there's a whole process that has to happen. We have to deliver stems. We have to deliver our audio for the network. So there is a whole process that happens after that that's then delivered. Or for the note-taking process. For instance, if we're working on a 3-day TV show or a 5-day TV show, depends on what it is, we will mix, and then on that 3rd day or the 5th day, our team will come in, our showrunner, our executives, the studio. We will sit down and we'll normally watch all the way through, letting them know, hey, if you have a note, there's a time code up there, write down the time code in the note. I can't hear the word, want the music to be lowered here, or, whatever it is. And then once we're done, we sit down as a collective group and we take the notes down. I have a notepad all the time. I'm always writing stuff down. And each note gets addressed. There's no note, we have a saying on our stage, no note gets left behind. Because when we dismiss that note or we disagree with that note, that filmmaker or that editor, or heck, even a writer who's in the room, if they feel dismissed, they just lost a little bit of confidence in us. Their experience as a client got, a little messed up there. They're important. Those notes are important. But it's a process. So you have to familiarize yourself with some of these standards that we have in the industry. That's the playback. It's a really important part. We love playbacks, right? Lights go down. It's time. Just whatever you do, don't open a bag of chips in the back row while you're playing back. But, understand that also there's a certain amount of technology that we have to stay, ahead of at times. Like I'll never forget, when Dolby Atmos became more of a common format to mix, I was terrified of it. I was horrified of it because I was like, I've never mixed an Atmos show. I don't know what to do. Friend, there was nothing to worry about. All I had to do was just get some time in front of it, right? But understanding that there's going to be changes in the industry, and understand that you're going to have to pay attention to those things. Don't be afraid of them. Just embrace them. Learn about them. Staying current on the best practices. Hey, what's the new thing out? Isotope came out with RX11. Let's check it out. Wow, that's awesome. There's a new noise reduction plugin. Hush, or I'm blanking, Clear or something. It's like some of these things. Just talk. Keep your ears open too. Talk to other people in the sound industry. Ask them what they're doing. So it's really important to understand what some of these industry standards are, these practices are, formats, staying relevant to what's going on. Nowadays it's all AI stuff. It's like what's coming. And plugins now using AI all the time to, fill in these algorithms and whatnot. It's like keep your ears open, ask questions. So don't let it scare you. So stay on top of those industry standards. Number 5, it's a really important one. Super, super important one. Mentorship and collaboration. Friend, let me tell you right now, seek a mentor. Seek a mentor, an established mixer, dialogue editor, sound effects editor, sound designer, somebody in the industry that you can learn from. Now, mentorships these days are real difficult to find. This is one of the reasons why I started mastering post-production sound, because I just feel like mentorship is gone, right? And I do my best to give you as much information, stuff that's not normally out there on YouTube, on my LinkedIn page or on Instagram here. It was really important last year and gosh, I can't believe it. I think it's already been a year. I think I'm over a year now being here on YouTube. But it is important to me to share my experiences with you. Now, I realize it's kind of difficult for some people to find mentors, especially because a lot of us out there are not available. So there might be opportunities where you can find a service or find somebody who has an opportunity. I don't see a lot of opportunities for coaching or mentorship. Friend, at the same time, if you don't already know, I'm doing coaching right now. Right now, my doors are open. So if you're interested in one-on-one personalized coaching, check it out below. I'll leave it below. It doesn't have to be me. I'm not bringing this up so that you can come sign up for my coaching services, right? But I'm saying go out and find somebody. Go find somebody you connect with, right? My coaching services, right? It's unique. It's different because there's so many different personalities out there, skill sets, My big thing is a holistic approach to navigating the industry to build a lasting career. It's about mindset, right? We talk about 80-20. What we do as re-recording mixers, 80% of what we do is behind the console. 20% of the job is up here, knowing what to do. The majority of it, the 80%, is communication with our filmmakers, understanding how to manage a team, understanding, how to get those notes out of them and interpret them. So that's my whole approach. My big thing is also mindset, right? And so find it. It doesn't have to be me. Again, find somebody, and God bless them. There are very few people, but if you can get somebody to give some of your time, go for it. But if you're interested in one-on-one personalized coaching, I'll leave a link below. Head to masteringpostproductionsound.com/coaching to check it out. Again, it doesn't have to be me. This is not a sale for my thing or an ad for my thing, but go find it. Also, collaborating with people. If you can find other editors, designers, sound supervisors, and find a way to create a relationship with them first, because let me tell you, if you just go right off the bat and tell them, hey, can you be my mentor? Or hey, can I do can I collaborate with you? You're not going to get hurt. That's a video for another day, but there's a slow, long way how to make that happen. But collaborating with sound supervisors, I just heard a story the other day of someone who reached out to a sound supervisor. They built a relationship with them, and the sound supervisor said, hey, you know what? Fine. Here's a scene from an old show he did. Cut it. Cut the effects. Cut the backgrounds. Let me see what you got. And they built a little bit of a relationship. And as a result, that person was able to learn, oh, this is how the sound supervisor wants their stuff delivered. Because now, in a way, this person is getting trained at a high level. And, that's a lot of what I do in my coaching too. I'll say, hey, take this scene, cut it, design it, let's get it, and then we'll tear it apart. That's not good. Let's do it like this. So find somebody you can either collaborate with or find a mentor. Again, it doesn't have to be me. Find somebody. It's super important, because having somebody to ask questions, somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, right? That's super important. So that's the fifth thing. And that definitely helps you, grow too. Because accountability, let me tell you, accountability is huge. When you have somebody saying, hey, did you do this? Did you try that? Do that? That's where growth happens. Okay. And the sixth and final tip thing you need on your way to build a career as a re-recording mixer in Hollywood is patience and persistence. Friend, breaking into this industry takes time. If you are here watching this video and you go all the way to this last sixth tip and you're like, what? That's it? Patience and persistence? Like, come on. Then friend, maybe this is not for you. Because everyone I know who is doing this, my colleagues and my friends, they've been doing it for a long time. And they all put their time in. The one thing I want to warn you of is the idea that this can happen overnight. Now, these days, it's difficult because you watch a TikTok video, you watch a YouTube video, you put one video out there and you go viral and you hit it, right? It happens. There's always the exception to the rule too, even in this industry. But I'm telling you, friend, you need to be patient. You need to be persistent. You need to want it. You got to be, as great motivational speaker Les Brown says, you got to be hungry. You got to be hungry. You got to want it, right? You got to understand that's going to take time. Anything worth building takes time. Okay? I don't want to compare us to big brands like Coca-Cola or Nike or Starbucks or anything like that, but these companies, the Apples of the world, you look at them now, you're like, wow, they all started with an idea. They all started with somebody's belief in themselves and believing they had something to offer. But it took time. It took time. Anything worth building is going to take time. So understand that you may have to take a smaller role or a smaller job, gig, in order to take the next step. You know, I love what motivational speaker Jim Rohn says. He says, all work is good work, or something to that effect, because the work goes, you either go to work on the work or the work goes to work on you. And, you know, that idea, you know, we're either going to learn something valuable in the process, right, about ourselves. And really, you think about success and goals in general, right? The goal may be to become a Hollywood re-recording mixer, to mix big budget Hollywood blockbuster films, right? That's the goal, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, friend, that the destination, right, that should not be the goal, the pinnacle, the re-recording mixer. But really, it's about who you become in the process becoming that. Because who you become along the way is far greater than actually becoming the thing. It's way greater than becoming the mixer. What I've learned over the past 16 years by being patient and persistent, friend, that is a core principle that I will take forever through my whole life to continue to be moving toward. Because the day I say I made it and that's it, right? It's no bueno. It's not good. So who you become along the way, friend, is much more valuable than actually becoming the thing. In this case, a re-recording mixer. So understand it's going to take time. I want you to think about a chart of the stock market, right? The stock market goes up, it goes down even more, right? And when it's really, you know, crappy and doesn't look good, right? Economy's not good. People are like, oh my God, sky is falling, right? But friend, you go to that S&P 500, you go to the stock market and you zoom out, you realize you were just in here and you came from all the way down here. That's the way a career as a sound recording mixer is going to look like. When you zoom out, you realize, oh my gosh, I set out for that dream here, and now I'm all the way up here. Even in a moment where maybe it's slow or you're like, things are not going the way I want to, you're still going to be in a better place. So it's your attitude, and it's embracing the art of patience and persistence. One last story about persistence of a dialogue friend. She's a prominent dialogue editor, supervisor in the industry, and she was telling us a story once about her journey, and one of the colleagues at a big studio was saying, yeah, you know, you were so persistent. Like, I'll never forget, you kept calling me. And finally, I was like, all she wanted was a chance. Finally, he was like, fine, I'll give you a shot. Like, go for it. And the rest was history. Friend, you're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to not let fear get in the way. Do you want it? Like, ask yourself, do you want it? Because after hearing now all these 6 things here, you may be telling yourself, I don't know if I want it. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have the patience and the persistence to build this career. Friend, for some people, it might take 10 years. For some, it might take a year, right? Because there's always the exception to the rule. So I hope that at the end of this list, you are better equipped to know really what it takes to build a career as a sound recording mixer, to mix sound at the highest level. If you do all these things, friend, understand that above all else, okay, this is like bonus. We tapped on a little bit, a little earlier on in the networking Relentlessly, but the overall number one indicator, well, not indicator, the one thing that you can have in your ring on your side is relationships. If you understand how important relationships are, friend, then you're going to be okay. Because if you're a great person and you've mastered all these, you mastered the foundations of understanding the workflow and the basics of audio and signal flow, editing, mixing, whatnot. You're getting the experience by getting the reps in, you're working on small, short films, you're networking like crazy, right? You're going to anything you can to learn. You're understanding and staying on top of industry standards. You're seeking mentorship, or you started working with a coach. You're working, with other people, collaborating, and you really embrace the art of patience and persistence, friend. Above all that, if you work on relationships, friend, and people know who you are, and you're a good person, and you can do all those things, friend, you're going to be well on your way to becoming a re-recording mixer in Hollywood. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful. Which one of these 6 areas resonates with you? Leave it in the comments below. I love reading your comments. So that's all I have today for this episode of Mastering Post-Production Sound. Friend, I gotta tell you, I love what I do. I love mixing sound for TV and film. And if you're like me, you have that burning desire inside you. I wanna leave you with this. You are capable of anything you put your mind to. So if you believe it and it's a burning desire in your heart, I want you to know that it is possible. Follow these steps. You work on building relationships. Friend, you're going to be okay. Well, thanks for joining me in this episode. If you're new, please consider subscribing to the channel. Again, Yahoo for 1,300 subscribers. I appreciate every comment that comes in. I'm starting to see more and more people comment from different parts of the world. So if you're watching from somewhere outside of the United States, let me know. I would love to know. And if you're in the US, let me know what state you're watching from, okay? So that's all I got for this episode, friends. I will see you in one of these other videos over here or in next week's episode.